Hi there, we'll get started in just a moment. All right, thank you so much for joining us here today. We are so excited to talk about building better customer experiences with location intelligence alongside our guest speaker from Forrester, the leading global research and advisory firm. I'm Ariel from Foursquare, and today we will first quickly do some introductions, and then we will dive into the key findings from a recent study that Forrester worked on, that Foursquare commissioned recently. And then we'll talk about building better customer experiences with Foursquare's location technology in particular, and bring it to life with some real world examples. We'll leave time for questions at the end, but feel free to drop them in the chat in the meantime as we go through. So I'm Ariel, and I lead B2B marketing here at Foursquare. Foursquare is the leading location technology platform, and I'm joined by guest speaker Ted Shadler from Forrester. So I'm excited to hand it over to Ted from Forrester to talk you through the recent research and some of the most interesting findings.
Thanks, Ariel. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, Ariel's going to click through and I'm going to kind of walk us through, which I think is a really, really cool story. So just to kind of set the context for you, my name is Ted Shadler, and I've been at Forrester for 100 years and a day, I think, something like that anyway, as part of Forrester Research. And I'm going to share some results from that body of work a little bit here. And then we're going to really double click on the results of this Forrester Consulting study, which is the study that Ariel just mentioned. We've got some really cool data and some findings that I want to share with you in some detail, including some recommendations at the end of that. So yeah, as Ariel said, lob your questions in, and maybe Ariel, if you spot them, you can interrupt me and we can ask them along the way if it feels appropriate, or we can collect them and use them at the end. So great, let's just get started here. I think it's important for all of us to keep in mind that business exists for one purpose, and that is, well, maybe more than one, but one primary purpose, which is to serve customers. If we don't have customers, we don't have a business, kind of the long story short. So at Forrester, we have put a lot of energy into that. We've kind of summarized our thinking through this term customer obsessed or customer obsession. And what we mean by that is not that you do everything for customers and nothing for yourself, but that you put customers at the center of your leadership, your operations, and your strategy. So what you do as a company, or heck, as a government agency for that matter, is to put that customer, that patient, that citizen right there in the middle. And then when you think about where you prioritize and where you focus, you want to be thinking about the impact on a customer as well as the impact on your organization. You want to be insights, we call that customer led. You want to be insights driven. And this is where location intelligence plays a critical and really empowering role. Fast, so to be responsive to the needs of the market and of customers as they change. And this is actually where platforms comes in as a really important enabler. Platforms allow you to build and extend and move very quickly. And then connected. So more and more very direct, very personal, very connected relationships between companies and their customers, companies and their partners, and the role of employees in making that happen, of course, is critical. So it's a way to frame the entirety of what businesses do. When we think about location intelligence and think about the role of data, on the next slide, we at Forrester do a regular set of studies around enterprise decision makers. So this is Forrester research data. It's almost just over 2,300 data and analytics decision makers. We run this study once a year, and it's a global study. So we have data from all over the world. And I pulled out a couple of data points here. One is the importance of data literacy and a company's plans, the respondents' plans to extend data literacy company-wide. And as you can see here with the legend on the right-hand side, implemented and expanding, implemented and implementing is about 3/4 of respondents. So clearly data literacy at enterprise scale is a priority. If we double click and look at the plans to adopt location intelligence and location intelligence technologies, we have a similar response. About 3/4 of companies are either have implemented and they're rocking, they're expanding it. They have implemented, but they're not expanding it, or they're implementing. And we're going to kind of come back to that nuanced difference of implemented and expanding in a few minutes, because it's extremely relevant to how you should be thinking about location intelligence in your company. Long story short, it's not a one and done. It's like, yeah, we got it, now we can move on. No. It's about how to take advantage of location intelligence throughout your entire company. So double clicking on some more data here, we're looking at seeing who the headcount growth for data skills is. Where are companies investing more talent in data-related activities? And what you see here is the data analysts are right up on top, with just over 70% of respondents saying we're going to invest more in data analysts. Data engineers, which of course is a critical enabler of location intelligence and other data to make sure that data is current and high quality. Data scientists to spot the patterns, make sense of the data. Data stewards to make sure we can put the data out there so that regular people in the company, like developers, for example, can take advantage of it. And then machine learning engineers, people that are specifically trained and well suited to build AI models. So all of these roles are important increases in headcount when it comes to data skills. It doesn't just stop there though, because when you think about what kind of data people need, it really covers the gamut. Consumer data, super critical. Social media data as an additional source. Of course, behavioral data would be part of consumer data. IoT data, so collecting data from the edge, from machines, from devices. And then we get into location data of two different kinds, geospatial and other contextual location data, which could include places, it could include visits, it could include people themselves. And so location data is a critical asset, broadly speaking, across the enterprise. So that's kind of a Forrester point of view on data. And I was excited to be part of this project that Ariel and Foursquare commissioned, because in Forrester Consulting, we can do these bespoke projects and really go deep. And so it's kind of really fun to be part of this process, to go deep and field a study specifically targeted at people dealing and thinking about location intelligence. And so on the next slide, we'll see the methodology of this study. So we surveyed 155 location intelligence buyers in the United States. So people that are deeply involved in making decisions about location intelligence, just like yourselves. We did that for companies that were all bigger than $500 million, so large companies. In fact, half of those were larger than $1 billion, across a number of sectors, because location intelligence, while it might vary, the scenarios might vary, the maturity might vary by sector, it's important to every single sector. And then also, and I think importantly for our purposes today, a variety of departments, not just kind of data people or just IT people, but also data people and IT people, which includes developers, and line of business people, people responsible for products. So it was a very broad scale look at the role of location intelligence inside companies. And that's what we're going to tease apart today. So let's start by looking at the criticality of location data for understanding customers and prospects and how they engage with you. And so here we have, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statements? And we're showing here strongly agree, and then other. And so 78% of respondents agree that location data is critical to understanding customers, either strongly or they agree. But it's not just understanding of customers, it's actually driving business results, like revenue, for example, or retention. And we'll see this in a moment. 73% of respondents agree or strongly agree the location intelligence is critical to driving business results. So clearly these respondents are bought in. They get it, they believe in it, but where are they investing? What are they hoping to achieve? What barriers are they facing? Who are they empowering? This is what the purpose of the study was. So let's start by looking at who is affected, empowered through location data by asking about who is leading or championing the use of it. And interestingly for me, and I actually come from the developer ranks years and years ago, developers lead the charge here in terms of adoption levels or driving the adoption. So developers clearly see the value of location intelligence, for example, in building better products and experiences. Also, business development teams thinking about making smart investment decisions, location decisions, partnering decisions. Marketing teams, as you would expect, because we can use location intelligence to target, to personalize, to take advantage of our understanding of a person's context to offer them a better experience. And then product owners, data scientists, and executive leaders all champion or lead the charge on location intelligence. One thing to pull out of this, I think, Ariel, is the fact that it's not one person, right? It's a portfolio of people. It's a team or a team of teams that really takes advantage of this powerful and important data. So, okay, what are the priorities? Where is the power? And what we did here is we did a double click on this, which we'll show you on the next slide, but we did it explicitly to look at where and also the linkages between customer experience, where I think a lot of people naturally gravitate towards when they think about location intelligence, but also innovation, incremental or even breakthrough location. And then lastly, optimization or operations, really improving the foundations of a business. All three of these areas are places where location intelligence has an impact. And so when we click down on those things and really tease them apart, what we see here, and we set up a little legend with the heart plus is improving experience, the bullseye is innovation, and the percentage improvement is optimization. What you see here is we've tagged the scenarios, the business outcomes. So the question is, what business outcomes, if any, rhetorical, would you expect when investing in a better location intelligence solution? And so we see here from the top, these are ordered by response frequency, a more common operating mindset. In other words, a deeper collective mutual understanding. And I think this rose to the top for two reasons. One is that location intelligence applies broadly. And the second is when you're acting on behalf of customers, everybody has to come together. We can't all be operating off of different playbooks. We need a common understanding of what the priorities are, what the needs are, and what the reality is. And this is where location intelligence as a common platform or a shared understanding has a very powerful energizing and coordinating power. Of course, better decision making, another place for optimizing. Using location data more easily in app development, an important innovation area. And you see that mirrored below in building more innovative products. And then we have a number of experience improvements, better experiences, increased acquisition, increased retention, things that are business results as well as experience results. And then, of course, we can always do a better job if we serve somebody through the context of knowing who they are and where they are, which will decrease costs. And so will actually having a common platform because you're not replicating data all over the enterprise. So a lot of scenarios that fuel better experiences, higher innovation, and better optimization. So lots of different scenarios at play here. And then when we think about these scenarios broadly, in fact, if we get a little more specific, we can say, well, how important is location intelligence to achieving outcomes in these areas? And so here again, we sorted from top to bottom, where critical and important, so that same scale roughly as we saw before. And then, as you can see from the legend, organized by the scenario of a better experience, of optimizing, or of innovation. So at the top here, we actually have an investment strategy. Well, that's good for some people, probably not for most of us. We're not picking stocks in our day jobs, most of us, but still a very important outcome and where location intelligence is critical. Forecasting supply and demand, so we can optimize inventory placement. Very, very important to manage cost structures. Very, very important to also improving experiences. So we have the right product in the right place at the right time. Competitive analysis and benchmarking, knowing where we stand compared with others. Enriching customer profiles. There's the place where experiences kick in. Merchant record cleaning or cleansing. So we get information back. We want to make sure it is validated, where data engineering actually plays a critical role. And then location-based promotions, recommendations, content, so better personalization here. Innovation, creating new products and services, critical importance or very important. And then lastly, but not least for sure, providing better customer experiences overall. So a diverse set of actions are enabled by location intelligence. So when we think about whether this is a point in time, this is kind of what I started with. It's like we're not a one and done here. We're really in a land and expand, and maybe not the right way to say it. But if you're a sponsor of location intelligence in your company, you're going to bring it in. You're going to build a business case in one area, but you're going to find that there's value in lots of other areas. And so in these specific areas, these specific scenarios, will location intelligence be as important, more important, or less important than today? And so in the case of enriching profiles, as important, 45%, more important, 36%, whereas only 19%, yeah, maybe less important. And so on down the line. In each of these areas, we see that location intelligence will be more important in almost all of them at a pretty high level, and as important, really almost to the level of ubiquity. The people that said, nah, not so much, or the same as, not the same as, are not very, very large. So that's true for personalization. It's true for customer analysis and segmentation. It's true for things like site selection, record cleansing, lead generation. And so we should expect, and I certainly do expect as an analyst, to see location intelligence grow in importance. Because let's face it, it is a way in which you have the full context of an individual, a person. Don't be creepy, but knowing more about them will empower you to do more for them, better products, better experiences. So I think what we're going to do as a double click next is to think about where am I on the growth curve, if you like, the maturity curve, and is that place good enough? If I get to a certain level of sophistication, is that it? Am I good? And what we learned in this study, and I did this with colleagues, including Lane Abernathy, who's just brilliant at doing these kinds of analyses, is that we looked at the impact of maturity, and then we can correlate that against the growth opportunities for location intelligence. And our conclusion is that if you are in the early stages, what we here call rudimentary, 17% of respondents, or in the integrating and implementing, right, that's 28%, you're really not there. You're not well set up for the real opportunity, which leads up into this third level of maturity, which is optimizing and scaling the use of location intelligence across products, processes, and teams. And then lastly, in the mature level, to leverage location intelligence to its full potential, which is only 1 in 4 companies today. So what we believe is that everybody else has this growth opportunity to move up this stack, to use location intelligence in more places for more impact, and to empower more decision makers, developers, data scientists, marketers, planners, and strategists. So today's location intelligence differentiation will become tomorrow's table stakes. So get started and go, I guess is the point, which we'll get to in just a moment. All right, so what gets in the way? What are the challenges? Well, of course, there are lots of challenges. I'm sure you're facing challenges, and hopefully you'll ask us about them in the Q&A. But certainly, cleaning and transforming data takes a lot of time, whether that's currency, like I don't have the latest, or it's just resource intensive. We lack technical skills or knowledge. It's not our core competency always to be super smart about location data. And we do have to build a business case. You've got to create a linkage between the investment and the results. And the nice thing about being insights driven, which you may recall was one of the 4 capabilities of customer obsession as a strategy, insights driven means closing the loop, knowing when something you've done has an impact on a result you care about, and then improving that result over time by applying what you learned through the data connection that you've established. That will help you prove the value of any data, of any insight, but certainly of location data. Another huge challenge is the silo challenge, which we all face. Every company has data spread all over the place, and if we've got location data spread all over the place, we can't bring it together to find those patterns, to bring together people, visits, places, knowledge, business impact into a single environment where we can actually do planning and action and execution. We can't acquire the data we need. We can't merge that data with other data that we need. We have different stakeholders using different data sources. This comes back to that really very first high-level point that by having a platform for location intelligence, we will actually create a common point of view, which will empower different stakeholders to come together. Of course, compliance is always a challenge. And as we know, location data can slip into the don't go there zone, which of course we deal with as a regulatory requirement as privacy. And trust me, I am as a consumer very interested in this. Protect me, protect my feelings, protect my interests. And then lastly, back to like, is this data, do we trust this data? Our own data is not accurate enough. So we want to validate that. And then, of course, and last, I would say, but of course, costs are always a factor. We want to make sure the returns are high. So cost certainly becomes something to keep track of and keep an eye on. And nothing is more costly than redundant data or bad data or data that doesn't come together for people to have a common point of view on. So tremendous barriers. There are solutions. And Ariel's going to tell us all about Foursquares, I'm sure. But in this study that we did, we actually asked about what the benefits of having a common platform is. I think that's up next. Yeah, good. I thought it was. So the location intelligence platform or the solution, what are the qualities, the capabilities that are most important to you? And here in rank order, it's the capability to combine different types of data from multiple sources. So that integration or pre-integration that happens on that platform. The breadth of data, having all of the data pulled together, not siloed. Analytics capabilities, whether that's dashboarding or modeling, with the ability to run analytics against the data. The ability to integrate that with your own data, right? So that you get the full picture. Developer tools that are robust and easy to use so developers know how to code, how to action, how to translate location intelligence into product capabilities. Hosted in the cloud, which gives the ability to use that data in any environment, in any situation. Affordability, of course, is important. And then lastly, but I think of growing importance, is the ability to source pre-built, ready to train AI models. Because there's not an infinite variety of models, although there'll be an infinite variety of trained models trained on your data. And so if you have a toolkit to get you started, That's actually a big empowerment that can come through a platform. So lots of capabilities out of a solution that will accelerate and improve a company's ability to get value out of location data. So I'll close with 4 recommendations, and you heard me allude to these really along the way. But what you want to start with is knowing where you're at, right? Are you at that lowest level? Are you at the highest level? Well, you've got an intuitive feel, but what scenarios and what stakeholders are using location intelligence today? Because you want to build a portfolio, you want to build an understanding so that you can take full advantage of your data assets. So inventory those data assets, confirm or extend your technical resources to use that location effectively at scale. And you know what? You're going to do this one scenario at a time, because you're going to have a clear sense of where you're ready to go. Maybe you're already doing it and can accelerate. By doing that, you will get the flywheel turning. You will understand what the impact is. You'll learn the lessons. You'll have worked through the integration and the measurement and the feedback loop. And there's one key important finding that Forrester has built over the years in our work in insights-driven business, which is that you have to make sure that you have quality over quantity. Start with the data you trust and can make decisions and actions and execution against. That's the most important, because you can expand your data assets over time once you get the impact going and the measurement of a success going. That's within a single scenario. But across all the scenarios, you're going to identify data pools where one scenario, maybe I don't need to necessarily jump to add that additional data, but across multiple scenarios, you now have a business case to bring in that additional data assets that's going to benefit more than one scenario. In fact, it might benefit all the scenarios that I'm dealing with. And then in that mature state, you definitely want to think about a location intelligence center of excellence, a resource, a common skill set platform, funding center where you can actually dip in, pull out the expertise, use it, return back to the center of excellence what you've learned, so that you can scale your use of location intelligence across the entire company. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Forrester has a point of view on this. We were able to do a real deep dive study, which was wonderful to be part of. And it comes back to these conclusions that I think really empower all of us to make better choices, better decisions about location intelligence in our companies. So that's kind of what I wanted to share, Ariel.
Thank you so much, Ted. We really appreciate your expertise, and we were so excited to see the findings from the study because it really quantifies the opportunity at hand with location intelligence. So now that Ted has talked about the opportunity to build better customer experiences and innovate and optimize with location intelligence, let's talk about why leading enterprises are choosing to build with Foursquare in particular. At Foursquare, we are in the business of deeply understanding places and movement between those places, using technology to really deeply understand where things are and how people are moving throughout the world. Our tech stack unlocks the most trusted, accurate location data in the world. We've invested 13 years perfecting our best-in-class location technology with location as our sole focus. And so you can trust that we know how to get location right. We're proud of our consumer app origins, but we've evolved quite a bit over the past 13 years to become the leading location technology platform. We saw an opportunity to provide our technology to other businesses where they could benefit from our unique proprietary technology. And so we decided to think bigger. And so today, our tech stack helps businesses use location to build better customer experiences and ultimately to drive business success. And so we are trusted by some of the biggest names in tech and leading brands in the world, including Uber, Snap, and Twitter. And so even if you don't realize it, you're likely relying on our technology today in your day-to-day life. When you call an Uber, when you send a tweet, you're leveraging our technology. And so we know that accuracy and data quality is of the utmost importance in order to deliver exceptional customer experiences. Ted spoke to that, and it really rose to the top in terms of what you need in order to drive those outcomes. However, we saw that in the study, cleaning and transforming large quantities of location data at scale requires time and technical expertise. And so that's where we come in, where our secret sauce comes from really translating billions of raw signals into meaningful data about places and movement between them. And so when it comes to places, we have artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms that aggregate, clean, validate data from many different sources, and use our first party ground truth from real humans to enhance that freshness and provide rich context. When it comes to movement data, our proprietary stop detection technology collects data from many different sources within a device to monitor speed, distance, direction, dwell time, and use our first-party ground truth data from real humans to train our models. So our core technology powers all of our different products, which includes both data solutions as well as those easy-to-use developer tools and software. We make our data readily available everywhere our customers are on your preferred platforms, so it can be used across every different team. As we saw in the research, there are many different teams involved in championing and adopting the use of location. And so our product suite accordingly really spans across the needs of CTOs, CMOs, CIOs, and really addresses a wide variety of different use cases, as Ted spoke to in the research. So Foursquare is one platform where you can address all of those different needs. Ultimately, enterprises choose to work with Foursquare because they know our accuracy and our scale is unparalleled, and because our data is really easily accessible everywhere. Beyond getting location data right, they also really value that we are privacy first and protect consumer data, putting ethics first in everything that we do. And so that is a huge differentiator for something us and something we pride ourselves on. Our laser focus on location also really sets us apart as an independent platform. So how are companies using Foursquare technology in practice? I want to share a few examples to bring this to life. One great use case for location technology is in the ride-sharing space, where we work with many of the leading players. And so this example is Beat, which is one of the top ride-sharing apps in Latin America. And they're using our technology to connect passengers with drivers in real time, providing accurate pickup and drop-off locations in the POI search results. So when you go and type in, I want to get picked up at the Starbucks on 23rd Street, your driver can find you really easily, and it's a seamless experience. Data freshness and scale is really critical for them because businesses are opening and closing every day, even more so in today's world. And they need to be able to keep their finger on the pulse of the landscape in order to provide that seamless user experience. The next example that I want to highlight is with Nextdoor. For those of you who are less familiar, it is a hyper-local networking service for neighborhoods. And they are using our location data and technology in a wide variety of ways to improve the user experience, both for residents and neighbors, and also for local businesses to connect with those people. So Foursquare's exceptional data on independent mom and pops at scale is really key here because it helps both Nextdoor more easily onboard local businesses onto the platform. And then it also helps deliver better search results and personalized recommendations for the users to find places of interest near them. This is another great example where we're able to power their app functionality with our location intelligence and provide a better customer experience. The last example that I want to highlight is Redfin, which is a full-service real estate brokerage firm. So they wanted to deliver more value to potential homeowners within their app by servicing more rich data in their listings. They actually went out and conducted research of Redfin users, and about 25% said that the information about a neighborhood's amenities is really important to them in their home buying journey. And so by implementing Foursquare technology, they're able to deliver really detailed information about local attractions, shopping, restaurants, parks, and more on every listing, driving stronger app engagement and ultimately a better user experience. And Foursquare's, again, robust first-party data at scale really is important here because we possess data not only on commercial businesses and big chains like a Starbucks, but we also know about, the local coffee shop around the corner, the park, and things that you might not otherwise be able to find. So ultimately, we're able to help them in today's world address the need for potential home buyers to have a seamless experience in browsing and searching and finding potential listings near them. So in these ways and in many more, Foursquare is helping to invent the future with location technology, and we're really excited to continue to innovate alongside our customers and partners in order to deliver exceptional customer experiences. So with that, I will open it up to questions. Let's see. All right. One question that I have for Ted is, why do you think that there are so many different teams involved in adopting location technology?
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. It shows up in the data, of course, that there are lots of teams. So, when I step back a little bit, I first got super excited, honestly a little nervous, but super excited about location data when Julie Osk and Josh Burnoff and I wrote the Mobile Mindshift. So that was in 2014, back when mobility was really kind of jumping to the fore as the primary way in which people could reach and serve customers. And what we learned in that research was you couldn't just hand the mobile app off to some dedicated group and that was going to be enough. In fact, people tried that, it failed. Because in fact, the reason you have a mobile app is to get stuff done. And the getting stuff done part means that you have to have multiple teams. So you need a team of teams. And so we learned in that, and I think it's even way more true today with today's multi-channel engagement models and way more complex digital experiences, is you've got to have people with different kinds of expertise coming together around this common point of view in order to figure out what to do for customers. That would be product development, experience development, all that kind of thing, and then fulfill that experience. So deliver on the promise, deliver that personalized or that relevant experience. And so when you break that down, you see what we saw in the study, which is that we've got a connection between developers and data scientists and marketers and product owners and business leaders. And we need those people to come together around a common point of view because they're actually working together in service of that customer impact, that business impact. And so I think it's more the norm than anything else going forward. And in fact, I'll share one more bit here. When you think about why we have so many CXOs, the X there, which could be digital or experience or revenue or product or fill in your blank, everybody's got one, is that middle thing, that the X is actually a result, a thing you care about as a company. You care about experience, you care about sustainability, you care about so that coordination across all the departments to achieve that result, that's what's happening here. And I think you see that reflected in the data and in the power of location data to really hit on all of these areas: experience, innovation, and optimization.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that was a really interesting takeaway from the study, was just how many teams are involved. And that last point about how many executives are really leading the charge, I think was really telling. One other question that we have here is, which industries are the most advanced in terms of their use of location technology? Happy to jump in with Foursquare's perspective and feel free to add.
Yeah, I think you should. I mean, the study had some stuff, and I have a point of view on some of it, but not all of it. And so, yeah, definitely, please.
Yeah, so I think that there's a few industries that were really quick to adopt our technology many years ago, and so we've seen them grow and develop in interesting ways. One of those is in financial services. I think that they have really technical skills in-house and are really able to build those models and incorporate our data into really advanced modeling scenarios to inform quantitative investing in a way that is much more advanced than what we've seen in other industries. And so you saw investment strategies bubbling to the top there. I think that they're doing a really great job, and I'm excited about the potential to continue to innovate there with them. And that's an area that we're looking at more. I think travel and hospitality is also an area where we've seen a ton of use of location technology, and I think that's because it's pretty intuitive. We have our own owned and operated apps that help people discover places in new cities, and we've been able to help whether it's hotels or the Booking.com and Expedias of the world find ways to enhance their users' experiences and exploring the world around them. I think that that's where, in terms of building experiences, they've gotten pretty advanced. And the last that I would call out is in retail has been really interesting to see over the past several years, particularly as e-commerce was rising in popularity, but then the pandemic accelerated that, and then at the same time led to the rapid rise of buy online, pick up in store, and really that sort of omni-channel journey. And I think that it's been really fascinating to see retailers investing in their data capabilities in order to keep up with the pace of change of consumer behavior. Anything you'd add to that, Ted?
I mean, I think those are really important ones. I also think that, kind of coming back to your value prop of places in movement, there are some of the things that came out were findings in the study that are kind of, in some ways, next generation studies, like optimizing inventory was an example. When you think about buy online, pick up in store, it's critical to have like just in retail, to know where your stuff is so that you can, and in fact, make a commitment to somebody that's shopping and buying. So that the optimizing of the use of business locations is certainly one. But I think increasingly we're seeing people even in non-consumer sectors taking advantage of location data because they have equipment out in locations and they are interested in what the usage of that equipment is. And sometimes that's consumer usage, sometimes it's business usage. So I think we'll see a lot of sectors start to come online here with these consolidated understanding of how powerful location intelligence is beyond marketing scenarios, but really in business operations scenarios and business optimization scenarios. So I think we'll see really every sector start to either get on board if they're not, or accelerate their use of as they start to realize all of the places where location data and location intelligence matters.
We had one similar question, which was about which industries were covered in the survey. So I'm going to just pull up for you. But really, the study looked at a wide range of industries. I think there probably is a long tail as well that's not even shown on this, but I think that speaks to this variety of different use cases. So the study covered everything from retail and financial services to travel to real estate. So I definitely recommend checking out the full study where we have deeper information on the methodology. One other question we've gotten from the audience is around what other types of data are we mixing with location data in order to drive more informed things like targeting and the example of weather data. I think Ted talked about this a little bit in terms of which types of data companies are using. So we've definitely worked with a lot of weather companies to combine our data with weather data. We've conducted some really interesting research around how the weather impacts consumer behavior. I think that's a really great example of the types of data sets that could be combined in-house. We also spoke about social media data, IoT data, and so at Foursquare, we are constantly, our business development teams are out and working with other data providers out there to think about building partnerships in order to enhance our products, to do that in a turnkey way for our customers.
Yeah. Sometimes the data is proprietary to the sector or the company. You think about, well, it's just in a B2C setting. Julie Osk, our colleague, talks a lot about context. It was at the heart of the mobile mindshift work and her work on digital experiences since then. And so location is important context. There are lots of other important contextual signals. And I mentioned inventory, availability as an example. Sometimes things, and you mentioned weather, which I think is an important one, but sometimes it's more subtle. Sometimes it's things like weather affects pricing of oil in trucks, tankers. I mean, who knew? But if it's hot, actually that truckload is less than if it's cold, because gas expands. Stuff like that you don't really think about, but sometimes the data that gets folded in gets really kind of weird sometimes and very specific. But generally speaking, I think we see these data sources as well as transaction data, so sort of real deep, you mentioned like a bank can use what it knows about somebody's financial well-being and tie that into location data to make a more relevant recommendation to a financial customer. And so we'll see all kinds of data come in. As far as what you source from the outside, these are very, very common, I would say, data sources that we would expect to see.
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to, we saw I think the most important use case that bubbled to the top in the next 2 years was enriching customer profiles. And so that's where I think, we see consumer data at the top here, but then we see, these other types of data being appended to that consumer data to enhance that understanding of your customers. And this whole theme is around, putting the customer first. And so being able to get that 360-degree view of your customers, not only based on what they purchase, where they go, what they're watching, all different types of insights can be derived. All right, I think we'll end with one last question. You highlighted many different areas around experience, innovation, optimization. So how do these 3 areas really relate, and how are they all important?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for that one. Well, if this is a Ted Shadler, maybe diatribe or point of view or rant, but one of the reasons I was excited to see the coming together of the teams in this study that we did for you, that Foursquare Consulting, my colleagues did for you, is that we talk a lot about customer engagement as if it were like the surface, like the experience was just like a mile wide and an inch deep kind of thing. But of course, that's not true, right? In order to fulfill the experience, we have to really operate very, very coherently in a sophisticated way to actually make a promise and then fulfill the promise of the experience. And so when you think about innovation and creating new value for customers, it ties directly into experience. When you think about operations or optimization, you've heard me reference a bunch of these examples in the Q&A, this is about fulfilling that experience. And so the linkage between optimization and operations, between innovation and experiences is very direct. And so I almost don't think of them as separate. I think of them as coming together to really solve and meet the needs and the challenges of customers and their expectations while fulfilling the mission of the brand.
Absolutely. All right, I think that is all the questions that we have. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time today, and Ted for sharing your insights about this industry. We're really excited about the opportunity at hand, and we'd love to stay in touch. So be sure to check out the full study, and thank you so much. Have a great day.